Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Welcome to my video lecture. This is Kabitha, Assistant Professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology. In this session, we are going to discuss about functions in C. So the agenda is Introduction to C Programming, how to write a C program, then functions in C, predefined function, then user-defined function, then we are going to discuss about the categories of function. So first, let's see about the introduction to C programming. C programming is the mother of all programming languages. It was developed by Dennis Ritchie in 1972 at Bell Laboratories. It is known as a system programming language. Why? Because a lot of operating systems like Linux, Oracle, Android, and some core libraries of Android and many main parts of device drivers were all written in C programming. That's why it's all called a system programming language. In 1980s, C programming is a widely used programming language. In 1989, it was standardized by ANSI C. After then, it is called as ANSI C. The C programming is also called as compiled programming language. Why? Because the program which we write is converted to machine code by the compiler. That's why the C programming is also called as compiled programming language. Now, to write a C program, first we should know about the structure of a C program. The structure of the C program includes the documentation section, link section, definition section, global declaration section, main section, and the subprogram section. So first let's see about the documentation section. So documentation section is nothing but the commands which we write in the program. So this could be the author of the program or the lines to explain the program. So these lines are not executed or compiled by the compiler. But why we need to write these commands? Just for our understanding. Usually we won't write these commands in the program, but it's a good practice to write these commands in the program so that we could able to understand the program easier. Then the link section. The link section includes the header files. In our program, we'll be writing many functions. We'll be using many functions like printf function, scanf function. Why we make use of these functions? Printf function is a function that is used to display this output. That is, the formatted output is displayed on the screen using printf statement. Similarly, scanf function is used to get the input from the user. So the code of these functions are stored in the library called as stdio.io.h. That is nothing but standard input output. When we make use of these functions in the program, we need to write #include stdio.h. Similarly, conio.h. We'll be using some functions like ch function, clear screen function. So the code of these functions are stored in the library called as conio.h, that is console input output header file. So when we make use of these functions in the program, we need to include this conio.h function. Similarly, when we make use of strings in the program, we need to make use of #include string.h. And when we make use of some mathematical functions, formulas or expressions, we need to include #include math.h. So these are some of the header files which we need to include. Why we need to include these header files? Only then the computer will come to know that these functions should do this particular action. The link function includes the header files with .h extension. Then comes the definition section. So here we'll be defining hash defined by 3.14. So here just by defining this globally in the program, we may use this value for more times. So we no need to keep on declaring and initializing these value. Just once we define this value, throughout the program we can make use of this value. If we need to change this value, means just by changing the value over here, it will be changed throughout the program. We no need to keep on changing throughout the program. So this is the use of definition function. Then comes the global declaration section. Global declaration section is nothing but we'll be declaring the variables or the functions globally so that we can make use of these functions or the variables throughout the program. The functions and variables can also be defined locally. When we declare those functions or variables locally, we could able to access those variables or functions only within those particular subprogram, and we may not be able to use those functions or variables throughout the program. That's why we may declare globally. Then main function. So the remaining sections which we see here, we may or may not use in the program, but the one section that should be present in the program is the main section. The compiler will start executing only from the main section. So the main section is a very important section that should be present in the program. Then comes the subprogram section. It is nothing but it's a function to perform certain actions. So these subprograms may or may not be present in the program. The only section that should be present in the program is the main section. The other sections may or may not be in the program. So now let's write a simple program to perform the addition of two numbers. So first what we have to write? We have to write the header file. In this program we need to get the input and display the output, right? So obviously we have to make use of #include stdio.h. Then we have to write the main function, that is void main, and with the opening braces we have to declare the variables. So for performing our addition of two numbers we need three variables, right? So a, b and sum. So we are declaring these variables. So the syntax for declaring variables is data type, variable name, semicolon, right? Here we are declaring the variable, and also we can initialize the variable, that is nothing but we will be assigning the values for these variables over here, or else we will give it at runtime. For that we can make use of the function scanf for getting the input at runtime, right? So here getting the input at runtime, so we have to mention the format specifier. The format specifier for integer is %d, right? So we have to get the input using scanf function, and we have to mention the particular format specifier, that is %d, comma, ampersand a, ampersand b. Next we are performing the operation. So what is our operation? We are performing the summation, right? So sum is equal to a plus b. Then we need to display the output, that is we make use of printf statement and we are just displaying the output. So this is a simple program for performing addition of two numbers. Let's move on to the important concepts in C, that is functions in C. So what is the use of function? Function is nothing but, in the previous example we have seen, that is we have done the addition of two numbers. So there we have done the operation for one time. For example, if we need to do the operation for 10 times, what we have to do? We have to write the particular code for 10 times. What will happen? Size of the program will become large, and also it causes a lot of memory allocation, right? So to avoid that, we make use of this function. What we'll be doing is, we'll write those code, that is the operation which we need to perform, in a function, and we'll call that function in the main function whenever it is required. This is the use of function. As of now, you just see the definition of function. We'll discuss about in detail with an example. So what is a function? Function is nothing but it is a code or a group of statement that is used to do some particular task. Now let's see the advantages or the uses of function. Helps in reusability, right? And it provides better memory utilization. That is, when the computer starts executing, it will start from the void main, right? So when it starts, when after declaring the variable, it will allot places for those variable and will assign the values for that, right? So afterwards, for a sub function, when the control moves to the sub function, it will allot memory for that variables too. But after the completion of that sub program, the memory allotted for that will vanish. So again, if we need to do that operation again it will allot the memory and again it will vanish. In this way it happens again and again. It provides a better memory utilization. Then ease of debugging. As we provide each and every operation in a particular function, debugging becomes very easier, and it also reduces the complexity. So this is about functions. Now let's see the types of functions. So we have two types of function, that is library function and user defined function. Now let's see about predefined function. So predefined function is a function which is already written in the library of C compiler. It is written by the designer of the C compiler. So some of the user predefined functions are printf statements, scanf statements, power of, square root. These are some of the predefined functions. Then we have also some user defined functions. These functions are nothing but the functions which we will be writing for doing some operations. So it is written by the programmer or the user to do some specific task. So now let's see about the elements of user defined functions. So if we make use of functions in a program, we need to include three main things, that is function definition, function declaration and function call. Function declaration. So we have to declare the function just before the main function. So the syntax for that is data type, function name, parameters. So we can declare, we may or may not declare the function declaration in the program. It won't, sometimes the compiler will not show error, but it's a good practice to define the function declaration in the program. So here we have to mention the data type, the which data type, and function name, it should be a valid identifier, and the parameters. The parameters could be the list of variables which we are using. Then the function definition. The syntax for function definition is data type, function name, parameters. So the function definition includes the function header as well as the function body. In the function header, we have to write the data type, function name, parameters. Then the function body, we have to explain the action that have to be done. So that includes the declaration part, executable part and the return statement. Then comes the function call. So we'll call the function in the main function, void main. So here add of is a function which we are calling, and we have written the add of function in the main function. So to know about the function call, we need to know about the two parameters, that is actual parameters and formal parameters. Actual parameters is nothing but the variables that is used in the function call. Formal parameters is nothing but the variables that is defined in the function header. The data will be sent from the actual parameters to the formal parameters. The actual parameters are also called as argumented list, whereas the formal parameters are called as a dummy parameters. So here we have written a program using function. So here we are performing the addition of two numbers, but we have written the operation in a function called as add int numbers of. So whenever we are in need of performing this addition operation, we'll be calling that in the main function. Here int main of, this is the main function, and here whenever the function is needed, we'll be calling with the help of this calling function call. Okay, so here function declaration we have done, that is data type, function name and the parameters. And here the computer will start executing from this, it will declare the variable, it will get the input, and here when it comes to this particular line, the control will move from here to here and it will do the particular operation, and after the return statement, the control will again move to the main function. So in this way, the function will be helpful for us in reducing the complexity of the program. Now let's see about the categories of function. So we have 4 categories of function, that is function with no parameters and no return values, function with no parameters and return values, function with parameters and no return values, function with parameters and with return values. So here see, in the program, the function with no parameters and no return values. See here, there is no return values and there is no parameters. So the data will not be transferred from the calling function to the called function, and also there won't be any return values, but it will perform the operation and the output will be displayed in the function, in the subprogram function itself. Here the function with parameters and no return values. Here the data or the parameters is passed from the calling function to the called function. Afterwards it returned the values. Here it is not returning the value, but here itself it will display the output. Here the function with no parameters and with return values. Here also the function is not passing any value, but we are returning the value from the called function to the calling function. Then the next category is function with parameters and with return values. Here it will pass, the data will be transferred from the calling function to the call function, and after performing the operation, the value will be returned from the called function to the calling function. So these are the 4 categories of functions. According to our requirements, we can make use of these categories. Now let's see the advantages of function. So as we know, it reduces the repetitions, right? Then it is code readable, and it can be called as many times as we need, and it reduces the size of the program. So see, these are the advantages of functions, and the disadvantages, it cannot return multiple values in C, and also the memory and time overheaded due to stack frame allocation and transfer of program control. So these are the drawbacks of functions in C. Thank you.